Welcome to another episode of Wandering with the Watsons, and today I'm going to show you that cleaning out your water heater really isn't a hard job. So one of the things that we're going to go over, some of the parts that you need to take apart and how to flush it out. I'm going to show you some of the pieces and tools that you're going to want to have, and what you're going to discover when you're in RV living is that tools go missing sometimes, and I have misplaced my socket that would make this a lot easier, but I'm going to show you that it's a job that can still be done without the specialty socket. Alright, some of the tools you're going to want to have: wrenches. You can have channel locks or adjustable. You notice this is a little bit shorter of a handle adjustable wrench, and that's actually going to be important when we're doing this. Screwdrivers. You may need a flathead as well. An anode rod, have that available. And if you're changing out your heating element, make sure you have an additional heating element. This is an old one. And then you have a heating element tool. You're not really going to find a socket that works well with that because it is quite a large tool that has to go in there. And we'll go over anode rod health as well. So let's go ahead and go over to the water heater and show how to get it flushed, drained, and cleaned out. Okay, so before you start the whole process, you want to know how much water you have in your tank and also what type of tank you have, what brand, because that's going to be important. So each of them have this label right here on the side. Mine is a Suburban, so that tells me I have an anode rod, but also right here it says tank capacity, 10 gallons. So that means I need to do 5 gallons of vinegar, 5 gallons of water. I went a little overboard with 1 extra gallon just to give it a little bit more love. So this piece right here, you're going to want to remove. It doesn't need to go away, but it makes things a lot easier when you're trying to flush the water heater. So there's going to be a few screws, really small screws. Do not use big screws when you're putting it back on. Remove that. This is going to be your pressure relief valve right here. Your heating element is under this black cap here. And this is your anode rod if you have a Suburban water heater. If you have an Atwood, you have an aluminum tank and you don't need to change the anode rod, but you're still going to want to flush out the tank. First thing you're going to want to do, turn off the water. Otherwise, water will continue going into your water heater. Open up your pressure relief valve to relieve any pressure that may be in the tank. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time removing the anode rod. This is where having the right socket would make things a lot easier, but a shorter handled adjustable wrench will work. I've already started to loosen it just a little bit to make this go a little easier. Now by opening the pressure relief valve, it allows the water to come out a lot faster. Otherwise it will cause it to kind of bubble as it comes out. Now, one crucial step that you must do before you drain your water heater is there is an on-off switch on your water heater, and there should be an on-off switch or a breaker on your service panel. Make sure you turn off the electricity coming to this, otherwise you will burn out your heating element. Then you'll have to change that out. This is another helpful little gizmo. This is designed for tank flushing. Has a little wand in there and an on-off valve. So you just stick this in the hole and just go around. As you can see, we have pieces, these pieces right here. This is what I'm flushing out of the tank. This is just buildup that gets in the tank, and if you let it sit too long, it will solidify. And our previous heating element was so bad that it wasn't heating because all that buildup ended up closing the gap between the heating element. So you just need to flush all this nastiness out. So this is the anode rod I took out of here. The anode rod is designed to be a sacrificial metal rod so that it doesn't erode or cause the inside of your tank to break down. So this rod actually still has a lot of life in it. This is a brand new one. You can see the difference. So that's the brand new one. But you can let these go until they're almost like toothpick thin. So I'm not going to change this rod out yet because there's still a lot of life left in this anode rod. But it's important to inspect it to see if you need to change it or not. But just make sure you have one on hand. Now this next step is what's going to help you be able to fill your tank for the flush and cleaning. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be getting vinegar and water. It's going to be a 50-50 mix. So I have a 12-gallon Suburban water heater. So I need 6 gallons of vinegar, 6 gallons of water. But taking off the pressure relief valve makes it a little easier to fill the vinegar in. Now there's a couple ways you can do it. You saw that I had the siphon tool. You can use the siphon tool, or if you have a flexible funnel to pour the stuff in, you can do it that way. I'm just going to do another flush from the top, just for good measure. All right, so the advantage of the siphon pump is you're not going to spill anything. It really does make the job easier. Like I said, you could get a flexible funnel to put the water in here, but this just makes life easier. So I have my jug of vinegar, and then I just take the hose, put it in the water heater. Whew. That's hard. That's for you. All right, so here's an important step. It takes a while to put in 6 jugs or 5 jugs or 3 jugs, depending on the size of your water heater, of vinegar. But you don't have to do water as well. You don't have to fill these jugs up with water and then pump 6 gallons of water in there. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take your pressure relief valve that you took off, make sure it's in the open position, and you're gonna put your pressure relief valve back on. Now, the feature of the water, or the trailer water system, is that water goes to the water heater first when you're filling up your system. So it'll fill the tank up first. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go fill up this water heater by just turning on my regular city water connection. All right, so I just turned the water back on. You can hear air coming out of the pressure relief valve, and that means it's starting to fill. So you wanna be ready to close this valve as soon as it's full. Remember, it's half of your tank, so it may take a little bit of while depending on the water pressure that you have at your campground. Okay, so my tank is almost full at this point. I'm gonna close it down. Now my tank is full. I do this in the evening.
Wrong tank.
Okay, I'm doing this in the evening because I want to let it sit overnight. So it's still got a little extra pressure. I'm going to put the cover back on. And then I'm going to let this water heater soak with the vinegar overnight. And then I will flush it one more time and then fill it with fresh water. And the inside of my tank will be clean. So just like I said, the first step to do is turn off your heating element. At this point, you can turn it back on because that will help speed up the process of breaking down any of the calcium or buildup that's on the inside of your water heater. I will see you guys in the morning. All right, welcome back. Back in the morning. I let this sit all night with the heating element on. Like I said, it's gonna help speed up the process of breaking down all that junk. Now, you don't have to shut your water off to the house. You just have to make sure that you don't use any hot water, or you're going to get all this vinegar stuff through your pipes. My kids discovered this last night, that if you use any of the hot water, the water's going to taste like vinegar. And they're like, Dad, the water tastes terrible. So, if you have a bleeder valve or a blender valve, like you have just one handle for your faucet, avoid using those. In my bathroom, we have two bathrooms, I have a hot and a cold handle. So you just use the cold side. But in our kitchen sink and in the kids' bathroom, it's just that one handle. So you run the risk of bleeding a little bit of the hot water in there. Just a heads up. So this is sat all night. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna turn the heating element off. Yes, my button is upside down. Don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the heating element off. I've got my wand ready to go with water. So I put this back on so I don't lose any parts, but we're gonna take it back off. And again, 1 and 11/32 is the size of the socket, I believe. If you can get the socket, great. Like I said, mine has gone missing even after I had just found it again. So it's kind of a bummer, but you don't use it that often. And then the same process that we did before by removing the anode rod, we're going to do that to let the tank drain. Now you can do one of two things. If you don't want to take the anode rod off all over again, that's up to you. You can run your water, just the hot water, through your sink and just keep letting it run. Turn on all the hot faucets, get all the hot water, and it'll continue to flush until you don't feel or taste any vinegar. The reason I like to remove the anode rod again is because any of that stuff that may have been broken down off of the heating element is going to get flushed out instead of sitting on the bottom of your tank. Personal preference, if you want to flush your tank again, do it. Otherwise, you can just do a water exchange with your sink. So, just like before, we're going to remove the anode rod. Now this would be the time that you actually replace the anode rod if you wanted to. Now you can see it's kind of under pressure. It's because the water is hot. You can release the TPMS or the pressure relief valve.
Otherwise you'll have a hard time removing the anode rod.
Valve. Woo! That's why you release the valve. Now you see how it's glugging right here? That's what happens when you open up the release valve. So obviously that's not exactly the way you want to release your anode rod. As you saw how I did it before, it was nice and easy and I can pull it out. So when you've got hot water in there, remember to release the pressure. That was a rookie mistake I made. So the water has stopped. You can see kind of on my hands some of the gunk that was coming out of there. So we're just going to give it one more rinse. Spin the wand so that you're getting all parts of the water heater. And then once you refill it, like I showed you how to do it before, once you see water coming out of the pressure relief valve, run your hot water side of your sink on all your faucets to clean out your lines, but also that's doing multiple water exchanges. So just like I showed you earlier in the video, run it through your sinks, and then you're going to have a clean water heater. So it's important that you bleed all the air out of your water tank. So as you're filling your water tank, make sure you have water coming out. And then you close it off and you're good to go. Put it all back together. Water should heat up in a number of minutes and you should be good to go for whatever interval you decide to do. You may need to do this every few months, every 6 months, once a year. I like to do it about once a year just to make sure that the health of my water heater is good and it prolongs the life of your water heater, but it also will prevent you from getting that nasty smelling water. I've read a lot of posts of people saying, my water heater smells like rotten eggs, or whenever I turn on the water, it smells like rotten eggs coming out of the sink. So by doing this is going to help prolong the life and give clean, good smelling hot water. Please subscribe If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube. Ask questions. And we love to help those that are doing the full-time living or just using their RV in general, new to the RV. Have a great day. See you later.